Now, between a series of devastating earthquakes and our biggest environmental disaster, New Zealand's become, unfortunately, pretty well versed in the importance of warnings for such events, and then how to handle them through the initial response to, of course, the long-term recovery. The University of Canterbury is holding a conference to look at what we might learn from these recent events, and with me now is one of the organisers, Tom Wilson. Good morning, Mr. Wilson.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, really well. Now, this conference is dubbed the Australasian Natural Hazards Management Conference. There is a sense, I guess, that these natural hazards are very hard to manage. What is the vibe of the 250 people gathered there to listen and learn?
Well, I think the focus of the conference is around examining, look at what's happened in Christchurch and trying to get as much high quality information and research evidence into Christchurch as we can. It's an important part of the recovery period at the moment, but also to share the lessons which have been hard won within Christchurch. There's been a number of really significant successes, and there's been some significant challenges. It's one of the first, or it's the largest natural disaster that New Zealand's experienced in over 80 years. So it's a significant opportunity for us to learn about ourselves, about how New Zealand communities respond to disasters, and to examine some of the really key decisions which have been made in the Christchurch disaster recovery, and how that's influencing us and what trajectory that's put us on.
So with all of these people gathered in what is, I guess, a very relevant place, for mums and dads sitting at home, what is the likely outcome of this conference? What difference will it make to their lives?
Great question. I think it's an opportunity. Disaster science is inherently multidisciplinary, so we're using a range of different disciplines to examine what have been the consequences of the disasters. So from a mum and dad's at home perspective, one of the key messages that we'd give for managing earthquakes is drop, cover and hold. But an opportunity like this with the conference is to look at what were the human behaviours after the Christchurch earthquake, or what happened in Japan after extreme ground shaking. How did people, what did they react, and has that message got through to the right people? So it's a great chance to integrate the disaster science through to disaster practice, and are we doing it in the correct manner, and what do we need to improve?
So really there's a huge scope of investigation here, because you're not just looking at the physical attributes of disaster, but also, I guess, the social consequences. I see that you're looking at the effect on women, the effect on the deaf community, the effect on refugees. Is this to assist in the next disaster, or will this be used, I guess, in the ongoing recovery in, for example, Christchurch?
Well, it'll be used in both instances. There's a classic saying of disasters are caused by humans. We can change our behaviour to make ourselves more resilient or more vulnerable to disasters. And so the focus of the conference is really examining how are we managing natural hazards and disasters, and how can we change our behaviours to become much more resilient towards them.
Is there any finger pointing going on? I know that it says in the pre-conference information that under the microscope will be civil defence, city councils, urban search and rescue, the fire department, the military, the police. Are you going to be pointing out where they, I guess, lacked experience or lacked resources?
I don't think so. I think it's more about, we've had a major disaster, and disasters are always hard. There's always going to be problems. I mean, that's why they're called a disaster. We have in New Zealand one of a very, very effective disaster management sector. There's always going to be things which have gone not to plan and not as well as we would have hoped. But as with any effective risk management or approach, it's a chance to reflect, examine what went well, what were the successes, and there were many, but also to examine what hasn't gone so well, and so that we can improve our performance for next time around. And of course, remember, with Christchurch, it was in many respects an unprecedented event. So the world's eyes are upon us to look at what lessons that they can take from this, and to improve our disaster management performance internationally.
And there is I see post-conference workshops where there'll be a tour of the disaster zone, so to speak, looking at Christchurch now. Was that significant, I guess, in gathering people at that place at that time?
Absolutely. I think the opportunity to come in and see for yourself what's happened in Christchurch. I think the positive factor, many people have been surprised at how much of Christchurch is largely unaffected, but also to look at the issues with where we've had our central business district shut down and significant demolition, the red zone in the liquefaction affected eastern suburbs and the Port Hills. I mean, these are significant decisions, which in some ways are unprecedented. So it is an excellent chance to examine what the consequences of those decisions have been and to take those lessons forward. But certainly, without a doubt, it's a real magnet for disaster researchers and practitioners from around the world.
All right, Tom Wilson, Hazards and Disaster Management Lecturer at Canterbury University. I'll let you get back to the conference.
Thank you.